Hello, racers. Today I'm joined with Tim Markoglu, APD $15,000 Wednesday winner at the GALOT Fling. How's it going, Tim?
Great, and yourself?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Just got back from the Fling. Obviously, you were in Vegas and then back to GALOT, so I'm sure you're just catching your breath too. But before we get into your win, I will say this. I know you for a long time now, and you're one of my best friends, and it really is cool watching you be able to compete with the best of them.
Oh, thank you. Obviously, as you say, you're one of my best friends, and you've helped me and taught me how to race. And it's finally starting to come around. I'm starting to absorb the stuff that you keep on telling me that I never paid attention to. And it's been really good. I had a lot of fun. I mean, these last 12 months, wow. I mean, I had a lot of runs, a lot of passes, and really, really good stuff.
Yeah, and for those who don't know Tim well, he lives in Staten Island, New York. And about, what would you say, Tim, 10 years ago, you called up and you knew my father for a long time, and you called up and said you needed some help racing. You wanted to get back into it.
Yes.
Ever since then, you've been my protege, so to speak, and you continue to make me proud. But you're doing it. You're the one that's actually doing it. And with that said, what the heck gets into you at GALOT Motorsports Park? Because you won 100K last year with a very small split. So you walked away with a huge percentage at 100K, which is few and far between these days. Then you come first day, 15K Wednesday, and out of 310 cars of a Shark Tank, you ended up on top. So what is it with GALOT Motorsports Park and you that click?
Well, I don't think it's just GALOT Motorsports Park. I think, and you know the answer to this, because I'd have a bad run and I'd spin myself out of control. I'd be like, oh no, the car's not good. The car's good. I got to hold 4. I got to hold 3 to try to catch up. And you know, once you lose focus, you don't have a prayer. And you know, you kind of got it into my head last year, and to keep things simple and just pay attention to things and come up with logical answers, logical game plans. And that's what I've been doing. And I'm, you know, obviously it's, you know, you have to have luck. Everybody there they're all great drivers. I sit there and I go up against certain people. I'm like, wow, this guy's finish line drive is insane. Wow, look at this guy. He's always a 2-pack or a 4-pack. You have to be on the right side of it. And when you, in my opinion, now, obviously, but before I didn't think this way, if you don't keep things simple, you don't have a prayer. You're going to win by 1,000 or lose by 1,000. So that's been my game plan. And every time I get there, I'll think about, you know, what this guy usually does and try to show him something very little different. I'm not the guy that does anything really wild. And so far it's been working out for me. You
know? Especially recently, the amount of rounds you won in Vegas and GALOT was a huge number, and your driving was excellent all the way through. You actually, for you guys that don't know, Tim was actually the co-MVP for the GALOT event, the Spring Fling GALOT event. Him and Kevin Brannon, we couldn't. It was too close to call, so Kevin and Tim, we decided they'd be co-MVPs. And the only reason you weren't MVP is because you missed a tree twice.
Yeah.
And that's saying that's with the amount of runs you made, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, I mean, I felt like I was driving well. I was hitting the tree, and then out of nowhere, there was 2 runs that were like a 30 or a 40, and I was like, I didn't even know where they came from. I guess I started getting
and all your
tired.
other runs were like a lot of double O's, a lot of teens.
Yeah, I think looking at it, I think most of my runs were double O's, and if they weren't, they were like a 10 or 11 or a 12, somewhere in that world, maybe a 15 here and there. But that was, you know, I would have to say I was averaging about a 009, a 10, you know, somewhere in that world.
I'd agree with that. And I think you hit it on the head. The biggest takeaway from, and this can help other racers, when you'd have a bad run or a bad day, you'd kind of, like you said, in your own words, spin out, and you have a hard time resetting yourself. That's the difference between the Tim Markoglu of today versus 2 years ago. And if that's if anybody could learn anything from that, it's don't overreact to a bad loss. Just go back to square one and, trust the process.
Absolutely. I mean, all these cars are good, and something might, you might spin a tire, or something might happen a little off. But if you sit there and say, oh, the car's junk and I got to do something totally wild, hold a whole bunch of numbers or whatnot. And I don't see it working when the packages are so tight. You just got to take a deep breath and say, all right, throw that out and regroup and just do your thing. And that gives you better odds, right? That doesn't say you're going to be the best driver. I would say there's 410 drivers there. I would say every one of those guys is a great driver, and maybe 80% of them are better drivers than me. Maybe 100% of them are better drivers than me. It just, it's when it's your day and you're thinking logical and you're coming up with your plan and the car's working. That's it. You got to do it 10 times.
Yeah. And on paper, that sounds easy, but to actually go out there and execute is a different story. Let's talk about the execution. If you don't mind diving into your personal life a little bit, you changed your diet, and it had to do with sugar.
Yeah.
It seemed like it, from what you're telling me, it made a huge difference in your reaction times.
Oh, yeah. Well, so my doctor, basically, I went to go see my doctor, and we all know him, right? I think you went to him once or twice as well. And he's a brilliant man. And hereditary, my parents were both diabetic. And I remember when I was like 25, 30 years old, I asked him, I go, what's the chance of me being diabetic? He goes, at the rate you're going, 100%.
Wow.
And so he checked me out. He's like, listen, he goes, you got high cholesterol, you got this, that, the other thing, you're pre-diabetic. You got to, cut the sweets, cut the carbs. And he was giving me some diabetic, pre-diabetes medication, basically. I'll tell you, the best thing for me and the best luck I've had, if you really think about it, is I'm racing with Vinny Domino, and he'll starve you for the rest of the day because he doesn't eat anymore. So that's helped. So I've learned to not eat. And I've heard you say this on plenty of times that, keep your sugars even and all that sort of stuff. And I wake up, have a cup of coffee and not eat until later on in the day. And if I'm going deep into the rounds, then I'll just pick on something just so I don't pass out. But that's helped me a lot because when your sugar drops, according to my doctor, you get very hungry real quick and your mood swings change. And everything in drag racing these days is to have an even keel and not lose your cool, not get too excited and go red, and not be too sluggish and be 40 on the tree. And that's helped me a lot, absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting to bring health into it because it does, although it's not a physical sport, it's 95% mental, but your health, your mental health, the sugars, that all plays a part in it. And you're solid proof of that.
Yeah, well, you have kids, right? If you give them a whole bunch of candy bars at nighttime before they go to bed, they'll go crazy. So it's pretty much the same for us adults as well. And,
tell me about it. Last night at the baseball field, Severio had a stack of candy, and when he went up at the plate, he looked like a zombie up there. I don't know. So I see it firsthand with kids too.
Yeah.
So Tim, you're a successful businessman. You own a trucking company. How do you relate? Like, you can make critical decisions in your business, like probably the best I've ever seen.
Yep.
You get on a racetrack, and how can you relate does that, being a good decision maker and being good in business, how does that play into racing? Or is it just the whole, has nothing to...
That's an interesting question because if you've heard me in my office and have day-to-day issues. We have about 100 trucks on the road, and 100 trucks on the road is 100 problems every day. People that are in the trucking business, I know a lot of drag races are, they could totally relate to what I'm saying. So when I'm in the office, you have to fix problems instantly. When you're drag racing, you have 4 seconds to figure out a plan. So it does help you, but that's not that all. To make an instant decision is only at the top end. So you have to be shut down, in my opinion, and just focus on one thing for 50% of the race, and the other 50 starts turning into like my day-to-day operation at work. So it's not, I can't say it's the same. You know, it's totally different. What I do when I do go to race, I try to turn my phone off and not deal with work, because then I get spun out of control as well. So yeah. So I mean, other than the finish line driving, and you have to make a quick decision, which I don't do too much of finish line drive. I'm not the wild dude. I'm only, you know, I have to make a little, you know.
From what I see, you're very solid on the tree.
Yeah.
And you make, especially more recently, you make good decisions at the finish line.
Right.
You've been doing a lot of the right things at both ends of the racetrack.
Thank you.
At the in the winner's circle. So what do you have? Three Fling big checks now?
Well, I have 3 Fling checks, and I have a drag strike one with you guys. So, yep, yeah.
So that's, you know, you're racing with the best of the best, and having 3 plus the dregs to a shootout win. That puts you right up there towards the top, man. You should be very proud. But every time when you get into the winner's circle, I could see the emotions come out of you. What makes it so emotional?
Wow. I was going to hope that you wouldn't get into this part, you know, but obviously, listen, you know, as you get older, these things mean a lot, you know, like they're a real bucket list. And
which, by the way, Tim, that's my favorite part of the events in general, is the winner's circle. Or
for me, they're the worst, because I guess I like, obviously, like, now Pete has pretty much every one of my interviews, and the first one, don't ever show that to anybody else, because I was like so excited. I was just grabbing the mic and going crazy, right? And that was, you know, that was a while ago, maybe 6-7 years ago, whatever. And nowadays, I think about my family and my kids and my wife, and I know they're watching me, so it kind of chokes you up, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, it's something. And I guess the younger guys, you know, they can't relate to that sort of stuff. But as you get older, you're like, wow, that's it's a big accomplishment, and your family looks up to you, and it's pretty cool. So when Mike right, always brings up my wife and my kids, that's when I get choked up, you know, because
that just goes to show how good of a family man you are. And also, I agree with you. The older you get, the more you have a better perspective of how standing in a winner's circle in the best of the, after beating the best of the best, what that really means. When you're younger, it's kind of like, all right, just let's have a beer and celebrate, whatever. When you're older, you kind of take it in a different way. So I agree with you there, but I love seeing the emotions in the winner's circle. And I
gotta tell you, I mean, like, and obviously you could race for 100 years and you'll always learn, right? And the more I've been driving in bracket racing, I started playing around, and I was with the NHRA stuff and Super Street and Super Comp. And what do? You do.
And you got a national event win, right?
Yeah, I have a national divisional, actually. Yeah, when I got the national event win, I was like, wow, look at me. But then you get these things, and you know, as you get better, and you always get better, you start realizing, you know, how good the people that you're racing next to are. When I first started coming to the Flings, I wouldn't have a clue of what the guy next to me is doing. And then when you start absorbing it and realizing it, I'll tell you, man, you know, it's anybody's game over there, obviously. And all these guys, they're insane drivers. Like, especially like this past weekend, you know, I like, wow, man, these guys are great. Most of them, you know, it could be anybody's game over there. It really could. And I think the difference, like we talked about, is, you know, who's trying to be level-headed and taking a deep breath and one step at a time. You know, I think the talent is all the same, in my opinion, anyway.
What's next besides? What's next for Tim Markoglu? You're gonna NHRA race. You're gonna go up to New Media. You're gonna. What's next?
Yeah, I mean, New Media has a whole bunch of races going on, and Bobby and Vinny and Robert, they've helped me out, and all our stuff is over there. So, with the exception of the Fling races, for the most part, we're going to be over there. And have some fun, and the awesome track. And yeah, that's we're going to go to the New Media 150, and then whatever goes on after that. I think it's the Memorial Day race after that. And yeah, and it's good stuff.
Are we gonna see your wife Barbara in the Camaro this year?
Well, the motor's broken, and she's kind of been complaining to me that we haven't fixed it yet, but we need a crankshaft. and we're waiting. Sunset Performance is doing the work, and they should have it. She'll be racing it probably in about a month or so. But,
cool. It's if you haven't gotten a chance to meet Barbara in the staging lanes, you want to talk about a game face, a poker face. It's
great poker play.
Absolutely. Tim, it was a pleasure watching you do what you do.
Thank you.
I feel like you made great strides, especially in the last 12 months. And I'm proud of you being a personal friend of mine, and best of luck in 2022.
Thank you. Talk soon.